I just want to take a few minutes to invite you to be part of this team in kind of a unique and different way. It seems like these days we have so many meetings all the time. It's hard to find time to get together and talk. And I thought that a creative way to address that problem would be to come up with a new solution and maybe just do a little screencast and let you know that I want to invite you to be a part of a grade book development team that starts to develop what the new gradebook will look like for the district. And obviously there'll be a lot of components to it, so it won't be one single thing for everyone. We know that gradebooks are very personal and everyone has different ways of doing things. But what our intent for this team is to create template gradebooks for each department area, because we know that, for example, math might have different needs in a gradebook than language arts might. And we'll get into that detail here in a minute. But our intent with you guys is to come together as a team with some background knowledge and develop some templates that'll help us roll out the new gradebook smoothly and allow teachers who may have had zero experience with standards-based grading have a template in place so that they can just get right to work and not worry about. And by that I mean having standards already inputted and having a calculation or a way that the book comes up with grades by standard and overall grades that make sense. So really, just to look at our screen here, the goal here is to develop a template grade books for language arts, math, science, and social studies in the new Synergy SIS. And this is the new name. They've changed from Genesis to Synergy, and they've not been bought out by Pearson, so no worries with that. But begin to meet the needs of the Redmond teachers. It's our goal to facilitate smooth transition by creating gradebook templates that will do the following. And really what we're looking to do here is have the gradebooks already contain the priority standards for each grade level and content area, so that when teachers come back in the fall, they don't have to worry about that. And then also include default grade calculations. So again, the way that particular gradebook calculates grades by standard and overall, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But we know that we can't create a template that meets everyone's needs, but just talking about what would be a majority rule that we could go by for that department or for the high school or whatever that would make sense and people wouldn't struggle with. So really, what our action items here are to ensure for us. So the actual work we're going to do is to ensure to the extent possible correct priority standards are in place and ready to be imported. And so we'll need to go through a little process of collecting those. I'll probably ask building administrators to get those, and then we will follow up. We won't be doing the importing, but you guys are the teachers and you know more than I do in terms of the details of those and if those are the real standards or not, and if they're in the language that you might want. And then we're actually going to work in the gradebook itself to create the default settings so that things are accurate. And just so you know, moving forward, with the tight and loose of all of this, there's different expectations from different people about how things are done. But really what the tight is that we expect there to be some default settings ready to go for teachers. I think a tight for us right now is that we're going to ask everyone just to use traditional letter grades for now. There's enough change with a standards-based system to try to change the letter grades is a lot of work. And that we're going to calculate overall course grades at secondary, and that our assignments themselves are connected to the standards. So then what's loose is teachers have, of course, the freedom to select appropriate grading scales. So if they don't want to use the template we've created, that's fine. They don't have to, but we want to just set people up for success. And then teachers have the freedom to override the grade in the book, and that's also an important characteristic that teachers know that obviously, just like always. And lastly, we're not as a district going to be purchasing any outside grade books. So if we just look at this for a second, this is not what the grade book looks like. It's just an example. So please don't think this is what the new Synergy gradebook looks like. This is something I just made up As an example, we presented to some administrators, and you guys are further along than most folks. But so again, the first step is we want to make sure that when someone logs into the gradebook, this is kind of in there for them. Whether we decide we want to do that for all semesters or have the gradebook so that you can look at a first semester view and second semester view, we can talk about that. But that's an important key element, and I think can be done pretty easily. The next step is then what I want to challenge us to think about is going to the next level and saying, okay, well, what other things would we like in our grade books to be built in so that when we look at a kid's performance, we can see, okay, yeah, here's how the kid's also doing in Oaks, and at middle school, here's how the kid's doing easy CBM. Here might be a common assessment or an ACT score. So the question is, what other things could we have included in here? And I think for each department that might look differently. Science might have a different assessment or a different indicator of student achievement that they want to include in here. And our hope is that we can give folks the summer to develop this, and when you go to look at a standards-based view or look at a kid's grade, it doesn't just say B, but you can also see, here's the standards, here's the grade by standard, and then here's the other components that'll give us a snapshot of the student's performance outside of our class or on our common assessments. Another key thing here is looking at, so that's, I think, step number one really is academic standards and looking at what other components. We don't actually need the grade book available to us to do that. The thing that we do need the grade book for available to us, and the second step then is to look at, okay, if we're talking about a standard here and there's multiple grades, and this is easy, and I made this one kind of an easy one on purpose, but this 3As, how do these get averaged together or power lawed together, or however this works together to come up with this grade by standard? Do we think it's best to have the default be power law? Do we want it to be average? What do we think as a department or as a team? And then how does this calculation happen? What math or non-math do we want to use in order to come up with this? That's the second step. What we've talked about and agreed at the district level is that these are the behavioral standards, and these will need to be developed over time, maybe by department. Sorry about that. By department, but what are the things that could make up, these behavioral standards, career-related learning standards, or what have you, IB learner profile, and in addition, we talked about these behavior standards not being part of the overall letter grade, academic letter grade for the course. Currently, there's district policy that says behavior will not be, student behavior will not be part of an overall grade. So that's really our task. Step one, looking at academic standards, making sure they're up to speed, looking at what other components we'd love to see in our grade books. And then step two, the green here, actually having this conversation and seeing how the book, does this and what default settings we would want to have set up. And maybe they're the same for everyone or maybe they're different. But that's really the work, steps 1 and 2, and that's what we want to deliver on, so that when a group of teachers comes in in September, they can pull up their grade books, and obviously they can populate their own assignments in there. But they would have a way to just begin to create assignments and do their good work and have the gradebook already ready to go for them. So that's really our task, and I will look forward to meeting with you and talking with you soon, and I'll send you a meeting invite as soon as I can to get this work going. We're thinking that the majority of this work will happen on our team in January, and I will flesh out a meeting schedule for that. Hopefully it's as minimal meeting as possible, as fruitful work as possible, and I hope that you're energized and excited to be a part of the team. We will talk to you soon. Thanks so much.